do want to remind everybody that this is a public meeting, can be attended virtually and is being recorded and will be posted on the county website. Also, if there is any items, if the public has any items that they want to address, we will do that under public input and recognition of visitors. But that only pertains to items that aren't on the agenda. So if you have an item that is not on the agenda that you want to address, we'll do that in just a few minutes. And we ask that you try and keep your comments brief. Any awards, recognitions, or correspondence?
I want to recognize, yes, I do. We just got good news that our mushroom hunter was found, or like you said, he found himself. But Starrin was on the television this morning. I was drinking my coffee, and there she was. And so, giving an update on what search and rescue was doing in Umatilla County. And so, yay, that's
Perfect.
good news. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, sir. I have none at this time, and so we have minutes from I don't have them listed.
April 14th, April 17th, and April 30th.
Is that a
And
motion?
yes, I moved to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I do want to note that Commissioner Schaefer is not with us today, but if he joins virtually, we'll give everyone a heads up. So at this time, any additions to the agenda, Doug? Nope. Public input. Is there any public input today on anything that is not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on and get started with our business items. The first one is a sheriff's office payment, and it is for annual support fee for UCSO and the FOIA. Thanks, Stern. Welcome.
Good morning. Stern Ward with Umatilla County Sheriff's Office. And I'm here today to talk about the fee before you. This is just a payable for the annual fee for support for the Just FOIA system. It seems like I was just in here not too long ago talking about Just FOIA. But this is the new system in which we do the public records requests. We're still in the process of, it's live and going right now, but we're still in the process of doing some things like setting up online payments, working with the third vendor this way. So this is just the annual, so we can keep going, the annual support fee.
Okay.
Have any questions on where we're at with the system or anything I can answer this morning?
Do not. I
No
move to
question.
approve the payment for the annual support of public record request system, Just FOIA.
I second that. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you very much. As always, appreciate your work. Have a good day.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That brings us to the next sheriff's office is vehicle repair.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lieutenant Josh Roberts, Sheriff's Office. Before you is a request to approve an award for repairing vehicle number 2207. This is a 2022 Ford Expedition, one of our patrol vehicles. Unfortunately, it was damaged during a vehicle pursuit. We'd like to get this fixed and back to in-service quality. So we got 3 bids on this. Hermiston Auto Body, Hops Auto Body, and Blue Mountain Color Works. Came in as the lowest at $7,521.56. So we're asking for approval to move forward with that repair. And I would say questions.
Josh, do you have any idea what the market value of the vehicle is?
Not offhand, but this one is our canine upfit, and so we're gonna be looking to hang on to this one for a while. As we're still gonna be looking to bring our canine program back, and so we want to have this vehicle in the fleet for that use. And so it's really specialty, but I don't know offhand what the market value is, unfortunately.
We have another K9 unit being upfitted also, right?
No, this is
This
our,
is it?
we got one that's actually gonna be decommissioned. It's an old Explorer that we're looking to run out of our fleet. So this will be the only canine vehicle.
Okay, further comments?
No, thank you for the good information. I move to approve awarding repair services of vehicle number 2207 to Blue Mountain Color Works for an estimated cost of $7,521.56.
Second, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the City of Athena law enforcement contract.
So I didn't know what discussion you guys would need, so I'm standing here if you have any questions on this, but essentially this contract is a renewal of the contract that we've had for years. The scope of work is pretty much the same. The main issue here is that they've reduced the number of hours that they're asking for us to contract services. That's really the main change.
I thought it was interesting reading down through here, the things that law enforcement does. And they just do a wide scope. And I think that I know it's very important to the city of Athena. It's just I think it's a win-win, not only for the city of Athena, but also Umatilla County Sheriff's Office. So, yeah, thought it was a good deal.
Motion?
Yeah. I move to approve and sign agreement for law enforcement services with the city of Athena.
I second that. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Next item is an RFP, results of an RFP to authorize issuance for upfitting vehicles.
This is previously before the board, and you authorize the issuance of a request for proposal for the upfitting for a 3-year term. We did receive 2 proposals, not quite in response, however. So what we're doing is recommending that it be canceled and reissued, and with better clarity, hopefully, for them to submit a response.
Okay. I move to reject all proposals and authorize reissuance of a request for proposals for upfitting of vehicles.
Been a motion and a second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item is Public Works. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Fellows, Public Works Director. So the item before the board today is the purchase of a new lowboy trailer for Public Works Department. With the addition of our new equipment, we've determined that our old trailer isn't quite heavy enough built for moving those units around. So we did a lot of research and actually found this felling from Diesel Depot in Boise. It's already on the ground and exists. It's a 140 or 139,000 GVW with a 20,000 pound flip axle. And we're requesting approval to purchase this unit from Diesel Depot for $149,545.28.
I just have one question, Tom, is when you move the crusher around, how often does that get moved around?
It depends. I mean, it can be as few as times as 4 or 5 a year, but with these units now that we have available to us, we can actually go load it up and move it anywhere we need it on really short notice, which makes our project work. If we have a rock source available, we can just move the crusher closer to the project and on short notice. So the anticipation is that we'll be moving these units a lot more than we have in the past.
Okay. My only question.
Yep.
I move to approve the purchase of a felling lowboy trailer with flip axle in the amount of $149,545.28 from Diesel Depot.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved unanimously. Next item on the agenda is Public Works also for the purchase of a John Deere 230 excavator.
So this is a purchase that we are planning for next year in our next year's budget, but due to lag time on equipment. This is, we find the same thing on our greater purchases when we're purchasing new equipment. The lag time is out there to the point where we really need to order quite a bit ahead of time. They're anticipating August, September delivery on this unit, so they'll be well into the next budget year. This is what we're requesting is the purchase of a John Deere 230P excavator from Payable equipment. And this will be on a Sourcewell contract. The contract is actually a 30.5%, which surprised me. Markdown on this unit through Sourcewell. Primarily, this unit is going to be used in support of the new crusher, but it's also going to be used. We have anticipation of eventually getting a pile driver attachment for this and using it for our bridge program to help foundation work on that. So, Public Works is requesting approval to order and purchase a John Deere 230P excavator from Payable Machinery in the amount of $306,859.
I move to approve the requested action.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item is another public works item.
So this is really the kind of the second phase of the first item. We moving some of our equipment around, specifically the crushing equipment. We were on some extremely rough terrain, and we sustained some damage to the lowboy. The main frame essentially got bent due to it was just one of those things. So we looked around, contacted as many of the local folks as we could. Nobody in the county actually had the ability to straighten the frame and do the work. We already had an account with Eagle Carriage and Machine over in the Grand. They actually did have the ability to do it. So, and gave us an estimated cost at that time of $17,000. So we went ahead and went with them because they could get it in the door that day. So we're just requesting approval for payment of the repairs to that lowboy of $15,041.43.
I just have to make this comment. When those kind of things happen at my house, oh boy, all sorts of, we've had trailers that the frame has been bent and everybody gets excited. I just wondered, did somebody get excited on this deal?
We got,
Yeah, I'm sure.
it was, yeah, but it was one of those, it was a circumstance that really hadn't been foreseen.
Yeah.
And we were, the trailer that we have, our current trailer would be fine if we were going up and down paved roads, but we're not.
Right.
We operate a lot on gravel roads with varying terrain and whatnot. And that's really what happened. We just put the trailer in more of a extreme situation than it was really designed.
Yeah. And things happen.
And
Okay.
but, fortunately, the price of the trailer is really worth more than the $15,000. So it wasn't a, certainly not something that we looked forward to spending, but we had to do it because of the value.
Sure. It's worth having it fixed. It's worth having it fixed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I move to approve payable to Eagle Carriage and Machine Inc. in the amount of $15,041.43.
I'll second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to see you this early in the morning.
Thanks, Tom. Well, just 1 second, Charlie.
Oh my goodness.
Doug, do we have to note an absent commissioner on each one, or can we just do it? It's in the record, so we don't have to go to the Senate vote.
He's not listening.
Okay, got it. Charlie,
Commissioners. I have a mass gathering zoning permit for you for applicants Jeff Bond and Steve Robertson. And we have Steve Robertson here in the audience with us today if you have any questions for him. They're with Rocks District Wine Growers, and they've submitted a zoning permit application to hold a mass gathering at 53293 Appleton Road, Milton Freewater, at 6 and 3526 feet, tax law 1101, on July 25th, 2026, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The proposed mass gathering event titled Basalt Bash 2026 is a wine and art auction fundraiser, as Steve just explained, to raise money for the Milton Freewater School District and mental health services in the schools there. The applicants have submitted a site plan that shows parking, trash can locations, restroom locations, as well as a floor plan showing the auction hall. The approval of the mass gathering zoning permit is now before the commissioners for consideration. And also, sorry, I lost my voice over the weekend.
That's all right, Charlie, thank you. Steve, did you want to say anything? Just, the only thing is you need to say your name and address. Thank you.
Steve Robertson, president of Rocks District Wine Growers, nonprofit in the Rocks District of Milton Freewater. This is the second time that I've been here. Last year was our very first inaugural Basalt Bash Barrel Auction. And we raised and were able to write a check to the Milton Freewater School District for $75,000 last summer. This year our goal is $100,000. And this year we're continuing to find our way to embed ourselves in the school district, and we're working very closely with the FFA students, or a team of FFA students, for purposes of gathering analytics for our guests. And this year, over the 2 days, we expect 350 guests from around the region, probably 40% from outside of this region in Walla Walla Valley. We hope to continue to reach further and further out beyond the Walla Walla Valley for our guests. And it's just so exciting to see the energy that is rising up in Milton Freewater, coalescing and focusing around the positive effects that the Basalt Bash has brought. Of course, now it's the last year and a half, we've been working very closely with the school district. And finally, working even on budget issues with Aaron Duff, the superintendent there, in terms of a 3-year roadmap that we've built together to gather funds beyond what Rocks District Wine Growers can arrive at for purposes of building structure, hiring more people, personnel, qualified people, particularly on the medical side, to address student requirements and needs locally within the city of Milton Freewater, as opposed to having to go elsewhere beyond them. So very excited about all of that. And
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Great effort. Cindy, you want to make a motion?
I do. Charlie, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I just
Okay.
grabbed it.
Oh, okay. I wanted to approve the zoning permit ZP 26116 for a mass gathering entitled the Basalt Bash 2026 to be held on July 25th, 2026 from 2 to 6 at 53293 Appleton Road, Milton Freewater.
Second that. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Charlie, are you or Bob? Who's doing the next one? Or Doug? Yeah, I would turn around and be mad.
this is before the board. We were requested to waive a partial fee that was for conditional use application. The owner applicant has submitted a written request for that. Under the county ordinance, basically the requirement is that for good cause. In this situation, the conditional use permit was originally approved, but due to their inaction and inability, I guess financing wise, to complete it, it lapsed. They didn't realize that, so they were reminded that they needed to reapply. They didn't timely, and so a violation was, a warning was issued. and at that point, they didn't apply. And under the county ordinance, if a property is in violation, the application fee. And that's what the request is that you don't double the application fee, just have a regular application.
Comments?
I have a couple of questions. That's going to drive me nuts. Okay. I have a couple of questions. So in 2020, they applied for the conditional use permit, right? There were conditions attached. They weren't able to take care of those conditions, COVID or whatever, right? But they still continued to have a business there? Is that right?
Thanks for the question, Commissioner Timmons. For the record, Bob Walter, Community Development Director. I haven't been dealing with this one directly. It's fallen to our planning manager, Megan Dobchevsky, but I did have a conversation about this situation. And so my understanding is that they did apply for and were granted a conditional use permit for a plumbing business, and they did not act on all of the conditions of approval. And so they had correspondence with our staff stating that they did not plan to act on the conditional use permit. Therefore, it was withdrawn or closed out. However, they did continue, our understanding is they did continue to operate the business at that location, even without a finalized conditional use permit. That resulted in the code violation, which the way to clear up the code violation is to get a conditional use permit. Anytime there's a code violation, there's a double fee that's charged for the cost of the permit to be able to rectify it. So that's what we're looking at here, the double fee for a permit based or a business that was operating.
Thanks, Bob. Questions for Bob? Are there any other comments? Anybody else want to speak to this? I don't see any hands raised online, so.
Is the applicant online?
No,
They
I
were
just,
given the link, I don't know if,
they're not online.
yeah.
Okay. So they knew that the conditional use permit was being pulled.
So it was actually my understanding is that they requested the permit to be closed because they did not intend to act on it. For whatever reason, I believe they couldn't meet, maybe it was the structural requirements. Since then, I think
My comments are, thanks for filling in the blanks, Bob, but my comments are the letter that requests this is confusing in itself. But even on top of that, I would vote, I will vote no against granting this, but the other reason is because now we've involved more than just community zoning. Now we have a code enforcement officer involved also at an expense. So the expenses just keep stacking up and they ask for a reduction, and I'm not for that in this case. Anyway.
Okay. I guess where, it was decided that the conditional use permit originally be pulled, right? And then they continued to operate. And then, like you said, code enforcement was involved. That makes me pause. So, okay.
I guess our choices here is no action, which would, or should we take action
You
and
probably
decline
should
it?
take action.
Okay. Your
Okay.
motion for approval
Yes.
or disapproval in case you're making the motion.
Yeah, I move to, let's see. I move to not waive the double application fee.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Next item on the agenda is the curbside recycling rate.
Okay, so this item before you is an item where we've now had a couple times on it. Our first meeting for this was March 18th, and then we recently had a work session with the commissioners on April 17th to answer some questions. Basically, what this request is a request to establish curbside recycling rates beginning July 1st, 2026, as part of Oregon's Recycling Modernization Act. As part of that act, cities with populations of over 4,000 members, community members, are required to provide curbside recycling inside city limits as well as the urban growth area. So in Umatilla County, the cities that are required to provide curbside recycling are City of Milton-Freewater, City of Pendleton, City of Hermiston, and City of Umatilla. Those cities process or have established curbside recycling rates for inside city limits. However, the areas that fall within the UGB is where the commissioners come in and have to establish a rate for that. And then on top of that, we've had a proposal from Sanitary Disposal and Pendleton Sanitary Service. The proposal from them was to provide curbside recycling for customers inside their entire franchise area. So areas outside of an urban growth area, those rural customers that are in unincorporated Umatilla County. The proposal from both franchises was a residential rate of $8 per month for every other week residential single-family service. And then Sanitary Disposal proposed a $24 per month for every other week multifamily curbside recycling. We've done some looking into what constitutes multifamily. Under our code, multifamily is 3 or more families living in one
unit.
one residential
complex.
During the first Board of Commissioners meeting, there was 2 main questions that came up. The first was, if we don't want to provide curbside recycling outside of the UGB at this time, would there be money available at a later date through the RMA to provide that service? And the response we got from DEQ during that work session was that there would be another needs assessment that would be sent out in 2028 for communities that chose not to opt in at this time. So those communities under 4,000 people, or counties that, should they choose not to opt in, could complete the community survey or this needs assessment, and then have the opportunity to participate in curbside recycling in the future, should the money from the state legislature be. That kind of answered the first question for us. It sounds like if money is available during those future needs assessments in the county or the cities under 4,000 chose to opt in at that time, there may be opportunity for that. The second question that we received dealt with which costs were eligible to be reimbursed for curbside recycling. And so the costs that are eligible for reimbursement through the RMA include those upfront costs. So obtaining the recycling truck, the garbage truck, the collection trucks, as well as the recycling bins, recycling depots for certain cities. So those expenses are eligible for reimbursement. Things like maintenance and operational expenses are not eligible for reimbursement through the RMA. And so that's why the franchise is asking for a rate to be established to cover the collection of recycle bins. I will note, franchises that are hauling more than 50 miles, so hauling the recycled materials from a transfer station to Portland to a mixed-use recycling facility. If they're having to haul more than 50 miles, those costs are eligible for reimbursement. So we will see that, those costs covered. So the proposal before you is asking for the commissioners to review the recommendations of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which their recommendation was to approve the rate requests for providing curbside recycling for the entire service area for sanitary disposal and Pendleton Sanitary. So you're asked to review that request and then approve it or deny it or modify the proposal.
Questions? I have a few, so.
Yeah, so I've got questions, but go ahead.
Okay. Bob, you know, I'm looking at the solid waste ordinances. As a reference, it's, and we require, it says, provide the opportunity to recycle in accordance with ORS Chapter 459. And it doesn't seem like they modified 459 other than a few addendums. So if somebody asks in the rural area, and obviously waste collections has all the authority after they go through the SWAC to establish a fee for that, but the opportunity is still there to recycle. Is that the way you read that?
Yeah, so under Oregon statute, communities are required to provide opportunities to recycle throughout Oregon. Here in Umatilla County, we've been operating almost under an exemption. So we still have to provide opportunities for people to recycle. So those are things like the recycle depots that you see at various communities. I believe they have recycling depots out at the transfer stations. So those will still be available and provided. So should a rural customer that is not receiving curbside recycling want to still recycle, they still have that opportunity. It's required by statute.
Okay, that was the question.
Okay. I don't have any problem with the rate. And people, you all know this, is that would apply to all customers within the franchise service area, regardless of whether or not the customer participates in curbside recycling. That hasn't changed, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, I believe some of our franchise reps may be online, but the thought is in order to be able to distribute those costs and not have them be unreasonable. So folks cannot pay by statute, folks that have garbage service, they're required that the franchises are required to keep those rates for recycling service. They can't pay more than they pay for garbage. Right? So in order to keep those costs for recycling low, they need to have enough customers to be able to distribute those expenses across customer base. That's the way they are able to keep the recycling costs low. You make a good point, though. If someone does not want to recycle, they will still be charged that service if they're inside a city limits or UGB because
We're just being asked to address the unincorporated outside the UGB, right?
so really there's two things I think that need to be decided. One is if you're okay with the $8 per month rate for residential and the $24 per month rate for multifamily inside the UGB, because we have jurisdiction inside the UGB. And the other piece to this is, do you want to provide that same service outside the UGB? We're mandated to provide it inside the UGB for cities over 4.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. we need two separate motions,
I think that would be best.
because they're gonna be different, I would assume.
I assume, I mean, if you want to approve the rate is what the request is, then where that rate's gonna be applicable. You could do it all in one motion, but I mean, it's just, you just, because the request is for $8 within the franchise area. If you want to approve a $8 rate,
You could modify the recommendation of the plan. Which would be,
Okay.
it could be keep the $8 per month rate inside the UP, and then you decide.
I see Kevin and Kevin's online. Kevin, do you have any more comments? You're on mute if you're talking, or we have you on. Is he able to talk? Yeah. Hold on, Kevin.
See on the lower left of your screen, there's a microphone. You just click on it. He's kind of unmuted himself.
It looks like he's unmuted. There's no.
Then it would be something on his side. Yeah.
Looks like we have him muted somehow.
It might be his microphone on this side. He can call in on the number. Need that in the chat, is everything. The number's on the top of the agenda.
I think Derek may be online too. Derek Ranta with Waste Connection.
Yeah.
If you have a question for him, he may be able
Derek, can you get on?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Derek.
Yeah, there's a bit of an echo, but I'm on there.
You want to make comments, Derek, while we're waiting for workout Kevin's?
Yeah, can you rephrase the question for me? Sorry, I got a little lost in the.
We're just asking if you wanted additional comments. What we're at right now is making the decision to approve the rates in the UGBs and approve or disapprove of the rates outside in the unincorporated area, outside of the UGB.
Okay, I'm getting 6 layers of echoes, but I don't know that we have any further comments. I think you captured the gist of everything. We would, sorry, I'm still hearing a lot of echoes. It's making it really hard to talk. There's no other change. I think you guys got everything nailed on how we'd approach it. The service, I think we got all the general dynamics of it right. We just have to go back and look at the rate if we're going to offer some form of subscription service to the non-UGB customers, or if we're going to do something for the UGB, the $8 that can be reviewed again.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Yeah, and the other thing that Bob did clear up was the definition of multifamily. So that got rid of the duplexes. So I think that made that a lot clearer, and that there'd only be single charge to the unit or the owner. So I think that clarification helped a lot. Kevin, were you able to get on? Anything else?
I don't know.
There you are.
Oh, no, I think they're kind of nailed where we're at. Yeah, we just, if we are to look at the outside of the UGB, the pricing would be different if it was subscription out there that's not required. So.
Yep. And Bob covered the original ORSs too, so I think that addressed that too. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being on today too.
We're excited to be here.
Any other comments, Cindy?
No.
Okay. You want to take a shot at a motion, or you want me to give it a shot?
Why don't you give it a shot?
Okay, my first motion is to approve the recommended rates by the SWAC for the unincorporated areas for Pendleton Sanitary and Hermiston Sanitary.
Just the UGB?
Just the UGB.
Okay.
Isn't that what did I not
You
say?
said the unincorporated.
Oh, I said it backwards. Sorry. The UGB. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
What's your second motion going to be?
It would be to not approve suggested rates for the unincorporated area, the unmandated area.
Can I ask a question on his motion? So if I say yes to the rate, does that also include participation? Are we addressing participation?
We have no control over participation.
It will be for all
Yeah.
people within the UGB that have service.
Okay. So we are making people participate in this service.
Not participate, you're defining the pay.
The state is. We're setting the rate.
The state, but it's not mandated
In the
for customers to pay.
in the UGB, it is. It's mandated they have to subscribe to the service,
In the UGB.
right? And the city limits.
That isn't what I understood.
So the RMA, the Recycling Modernization Act, requires that curbside recycling be provided in cities over 4,000 and the UGB.
Be
So
provided,
it has to be provided.
but they do not have to participate.
They do not, they can receive a recycle bin, but they do not have to haul it out to the road to be picked up if they choose not to recycle. However, a rate needs to be established for this program to be able to work.
Okay. What I understood from Lori Gordon was that, and she would not give me a straight answer, but when you even questioned her during our work session, she did say that customers were not mandated to participate. It has to be, like you said, it has to be offered, it has to be available, but customers do not have to participate. So I don't think that we should be allowed to make somebody participate.
So you're not seconding the motion?
I don't have a problem with an $8 fee, but I have a problem with requiring people to participate that don't want to participate.
That's not part of the question for the county. That question's already been answered by the state. The only jurisdiction that the county has is the amount of.
Okay. Second, I second with a hesitation, just because I don't think it's clear. But second, I'll second the $8 rate.
Suggested whack rate that's 8 and 24, but
Fine. Second.
there's been a motion, and I'll second that. Or I made the motion, there has been a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next motion will be to not approve the rates or the service in the unincorporated areas outside of the UGB.
Not. I can second that.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin, Derek, I really appreciate your patience with us on this. I can guarantee you that I think I copied most of them to Cindy on the ask your commissioner, and it was probably the hottest item that ask your commissioners had in quite a while. So it generated some discussion. Thank you, everybody, and the patience, Bob, you and your whole department and the SWAC. Thank you.
Thank you. I have the next one as well. It's a little more fun.
A little more what?
Fun.
Oh,
So this is the recommendation received from the county's Community and Economic Development Grant Review Committee. So the committee met on Monday night last week and reviewed a total of 14 different grant applications that were received for the spring cycle of the county's Community and Economic Development. As you recall, this program is funded by video lottery dollars from the state and has to go towards economic development. And so these projects range from a variety of different community benefit projects, as well as support for businesses to make infrastructure improvements or do things that would enhance their economic viability. So the list of grants is included in your packets, or the recommendation from the committee, and they're recommending awarding $91,000 this grant cycle. Basically with 11 different applications.
I'll take a little freedom here and make the first comments is that this is by far the funnest, most productive, most rewarding committee I sit on out of everything. And what's really fun about it is the representatives of the city councils from throughout the county. And to listen to Ukiah's conversation with Mountain Free Water's conversation, with Stanfield's conversations with Pendle, it's an enjoyable long evening, but it is a very enjoyable, I'm not even going to call it a task because it's kind of a reward for having to do everything else. Then you get to do this one. So it is a lot of fun, and Bob and his whole team are extremely prepared for it. So comments?
no, I don't think funnest is a word, but you know what? I don't think there's a better word. to describe. That's every time I read down through these, I think, wow, this is amazing. And like Commissioner Doran just said, it goes from one side of the county to the other. And wonderful, wonderful project. So I move to accept, let me see here, what are we saying? To approve the funding recommendations for spring 2026 Community and Economic Development Grant Request for a total of $91,000.
I'll second that. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved. Thank you. Next item is the voter pamphlet payment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Deanne Lanai, Director of Administrative Services. And before you is a payable for $5,165 for the county's, printing of the county's voter pamphlet. And since it's over $5,000, it requires Commissioner approval. It's a budgeted item.
I know you weren't here, and Steve, I think, answered a lot of the questions, but is this for the postage or the printing? Because
This is basically that inserting portion that's in the voter pamphlet, the printing of that. When you look at the voter's pamphlet, in the middle, there's the county's insert.
Okay.
The county's insert.
So does the state pay for the mailing then of all of those?
As far as I know, that's all covered with their voter pamphlet during these these two state elections, the general and the primary. And they'll cover that cost, is my understanding. We may get a bill from them. I'd have to dig a little deeper on that. But they're sending out all theirs that they're paying for the entire state. And then ours is added into, so I don't know if we have a portion of postage on that. I don't think we do.
Okay.
I never really dug that deep to think about that. As far as I know, we don't.
I know where it kind of grinds on me is this is always advertised as a state function. And even in the front of the voter's pamphlet, it says paid for by the state of Oregon. Obviously, it's not the case. Yeah. So, anyway.
Okay. I move to approve payable to Writer Elections Services LLC in the amount of $5,165.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. The next one before you, too, is with the IT department. We're replacing the records server. And this one, I apologize for being late, but as you look at the quotes, too, right now with the surge in AI and the data centers, parts for servers the prices are just going up daily. And if you look at the two quotes, we have three quotes there, one for $16,975, second quote for $20,181.28, and the third quote for $31,467.82. And we just got the last two yesterday. But even in the front of theirs, they say we cannot guarantee the last two higher quotes, we cannot guarantee the prices until the item ships, due to the volatility of the parts because of all the surge in the servers that are needed to power AI now has increased the cost that we have to pay. So we're trying to buy this as soon as possible. And the one that we do have, they did give us a 10-day window, the one we're going with for $16,000, that they honor the price of 10 days, which is tomorrow's the last day.
This isn't on my list, and I read it earlier. Where is it? It's not M, or whatever number that would be. It was elections payable, and then I go straight to health insurance.
This was added about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Due to the volatility, and I apologize.
It's all right.
But if we delay on it, it would cost us another $4,000, possibly maybe more.
There it is.
I have a couple of questions while you're looking.
Go ahead.
Where is this? Is this new expense? Where is it going?
So this is actually the main file server that we use at the courthouse here. And it's paid for by the records. It stores all of our recorded documents on it, and we're running out of disk space on it. The other one's gonna move out to the Justice Center. This one, when this is replaced, we're gonna repurpose the other one out of the Justice Center.
But we just paid for warranty and everything on we had a long discussion on the CJIS ones at the Justice Center.
Yeah, so what we're doing to try to bring the life expectancy for those longer due to the pricing right now is to offload some of the file server stuff so the space doesn't grow as much. So we're moving some of the things around out there. It's all part of a plan to try to keep our servers longer. That's what we're save money in a sense. If I'm making
No.
Okay, so what's happening right now?
Not to me.
This server's 6 years old.
Okay.
That's downstairs. It's paid for by archive funds, which is not general fund.
Okay.
So that is not part of the general fund department. And what we're going to do when we replace this one, we're going to move it out there so we can offload some of the storage space that we're using on their servers out at the jail to make sure that we can continue to use those for even longer. We can increase the life expectancy of storage space out there at the jail.
But didn't we just do that with the $57,000?
That's just a redundant, that was just the 57, it's just the maintenance. Going for the next, paying maintenance for it for the next 3 years.
Right.
So, because maintenance cost is going up exponentially too.
Right. And so, and back when we did this one, we talked about that was actually a triple backup plan.
When we did the other one, yeah, when you were talking about it, which we added another server in there.
Right.
But in case, like we had, there's only 2 servers out there in the data center. They fault over to each other.
Right.
One dies, and so we added that third server to it. So in case when we're only on one, if that happens to die while we're waiting for support to fix things, we have to.
So
redundancy. And since
we have the multiple redundancies, and now we're going to add just additional space. Is that
so what we're doing?
The record
only,
ones, I understand the record.
Only for the courthouse.
Right.
But I am going to reuse the equipment I have here to do other things out there.
Okay.
Because the server's still good. We can use it for things. It just doesn't have enough space to continue to add the one that's here, to add all the more recorded documents and all that we do all the time.
So what kind of backup does this system have? The archive
It's the similar the server itself is not redundant. So if the server goes down, we have to move everything to another server, which we actually can spin up pretty quickly with some others, but the data is all backed up data. Data is backed up. The server hardware is not swappable in a sense. When they're in the data center where we're using the multi-virtual servers, they automatically, if it dies within minutes, a new server is spun up automatically and we don't have to do anything. In a case like this, if this goes down, we're talking several hours before we can get something.
Okay.
But these are not mission critical, it's recorded documents, so they can be down for a little bit of time versus a 911 call.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, no, not at all. I move to authorize the expenditure of $16,975 for the purchase of a file server for records.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Next item.
This coming for the board is,
Do we want to do the 10 o'clock meeting?
we could, it's either way is fine.
Okay.
There was no one online that joined. Unless, I don't think Heather's here for that. This is for the renewal of health insurance, dental insurance, and also life insurance for our employees. The dental and life insurance, there's not an increase, but for the medical, it's going to be 7%. And that was down from the original.
Comments?
I move to accept the 26-27 rate increase of 7% to medical and 0% to dental, and you said in life, as proposed by Pacific Source for health, vision, and dental coverages.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
This is the ordinance, the purchasing ordinance update.
Yeah.
This is for the first reading for the public contracting ordinance. There have been a few updates done to it. There was in the first section, you got a first look at those, and then based on the comments we've received, there were further changes made, and so now those are all before the board for the first reading.
Go into a public hearing. The first reading of the public contracting ordinance, chapter 38. Anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone to speak opposed? Neutral? Comments?
No.
No. Come out of public hearing, set the date for the second reading.
And the date proposed would probably be the next board meeting.
Perfect.
May 20th.
May 20th.
Perfect.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda,
We would need a motion to set it.
which is what, May
May 2nd.
20th?
Okay, I move to have the second reading of the proposed public contracting ordinance on May, what'd you say?
20th.
20th.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Supplemental budgets.
Commissioners, Robert Paul, CFO, Umatilla County. Today there are, you're going to put us in public.
Public hearing. This meeting returns to public hearing. Yes.
Today there are 10 supplemental budgets before you for your consideration. I will summarize them and be prepared for questions. Budget Order 2026-40, General Fund Jail. Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in state revenue of $170,000, an increase in materials and services of $580,000, and a decrease in contingency of $410,000. Budget Order 2026-41, General Fund Public Health. Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers in of $117,000 and an increase in contingency of $117,000. Budget Order 2026-42, General Fund Public Health. The program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $20,000, an increase in state revenue of $90,000, and an increase in materials and services of $220,000, and a decrease in contingency of $110,000. Budget Order 2026-43, the CDDP program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in federal revenue of $300,000 and an increase in materials and services of $300,000. Budget Order 2026-44, Economic Development Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in federal revenue of $30,000, an increase in materials and services of $50,000, and a decrease in contingency of $20,000. Budget Order 2026-45, the School-Based Health Center Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in federal funding in federal revenue of $150,000, an increase in materials and services of $130,000, and an increase in contingency of $20,000. Budget Order 2026-46, County Fair.
program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $150,000 and an increase in materials and services of $150,000. Budget Order 2026-47 CARE Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in federal revenue of $80,000 and an increase in materials and services of $80,000. 2026-48 2050 Plan Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $90,000, an increase in materials and services of $30,000, and an increase in contingency of $60,000. And Budget Order 2026-49 Public Health Reserve requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning balance of $85,000, an increase in local revenue of $32,000, and an increase in transfers out of $117,000. Those are the 10 supplemental budgets before you this morning.
Thank you, Robert. Any comments on the budget? For, against, neutral?
I have a question.
Comments? Yeah, go ahead.
I do. The first one, the jail program. Can you explain to me what increase in state revenue of 170, increase in materials and services of 580,000, and a decrease in contingency of 410? What happened here?
So we received an additional $170,000 in state revenue that was not in the original budget. It had to do with a program at the jail for opioid treatment.
Okay.
And also at the end of 2025, a couple of the payments that we make to our health care provider were not submitted in time to be paid in 2025. And so they fell into this budget. That's approximately $180,000 a month so we're going to get 14 months worth of those bills this year rather than 12. So that was part of it. And then the other part of that increase in materials and services was the offsetting expense for the extra $170,000 in revenue we got. And so we needed to take the balance of that $410,000 out of contingency. They didn't have any other source of revenue.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does. Thank
Okay.
you. I don't have any other
No
questions.
comments? We'll come out of public hearing, and what's the wishes?
I move to adopt budget order 2640.
Second, got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2026-41.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2026-42.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2026-43.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2026-44.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2026-45.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2026-46.
Been a motion, or second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 I move to adopt budget order 2026-47.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2026-48.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 I move to adopt budget order 2026-49.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Robert. Next item is the budget transfer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO, Umatilla County. This morning, there are 10 budget transfers for your consideration. I'll summarize them and answer questions as needed. Budget Order 2026-50, General Fund, General County, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers out of $376,770 and a decrease in contingency of $376,770. 2026-51 General Fund Administrative Services requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $4,000 and a decrease in contingency of $4,000. Budget Order 2026-52, General Fund Maintenance, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2026-53, General Fund Criminal, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of this budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $45,000 and a decrease in contingency of $45,000. Budget Order 2026-54, General Fund Victim Witness, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2026-55, General Fund Veteran Services, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $30,000 and a decrease in contingency of $30,000. Budget Order 2026-56, General Fund Public Health, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $120,000 and a decrease in contingency of $120,000. Budget Order 2026-57, Special Transportation Fund, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $40,000 and a decrease in contingency of $40,000. Budget Order 2026-58, School-Based Mental Health Center Hermiston, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2026-59, Nuisance Abatement, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Those are the 10 budget transfers available.
Thanks, Robert.
For you. Any questions?
Comments?
No. Okay, I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-50.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-51.
Second, been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-52. You didn't second that.
That's quick.
You weren't that quick.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. You didn't do it then either.
I did.
No, you didn't. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-53.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-54.
Been a motion, second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 It's been moved. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-55.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-56.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
It's been moved. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-57.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-58.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
It's been moved. I move to adopt Budget Order 2026-59.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Thanks, Robert. Never easy.
Give me a break.
Next
Okay.
item is Equity Community Benefit Plan.
Okay.
This, coming before the board, is the final, hopefully, for the Equity Community Benefit Plan grants. This project was based on the Echo Wind Farm, and that ended last year, and so there aren't any funds that have been received. So the remaining balance in there is just based on recycled grants, basically, and other income. And so what they recommended at this point is there's one last grant to the cemetery district, and reallocation of 3 other ones that are still ongoing. But at this order, and approves that grant and funds going to the district, and then also ceasing the function of the committee.
Been a great program.
Yeah, I do have a question. Historically, do you see where these go away, this grant plan would go away, and then something else pops up further down the line?
Well, the plan at this point is still in place.
Right.
That's not being terminated. It's just the committee is no longer functioning.
Okay,
So if something does come up, we can reactivate the committee, or the board can do it themselves.
okay.
But yeah, but the plan itself is still in place.
I move to approve grant and dissolution of board and adopt order number BCC 2026-18.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion approved. Next item is the property transfers with the city of Umatilla.
Okay, this, with the city of Umatilla has been going on for a while, with conversations with the city to help with the development along the Umatilla River Road. This is a long-term plan with the county. This has never materialized. Back in 2003, property was purchased. In the previous, I think in 98, property had been acquired and due to foreclosure, and in further on, I think in 25, we also acquired more property. But if you look at the map, there are 5 tax lots that are being transferred as part of this transaction. The very first one up there on the north is a sliver, and then the next one was actually purchased. On, larger transaction, because some of the funds used to purchase it were City of Umatilla put in a third, the county put in a third, and CTUIR put in a third. And the plan is also for the City of Umatilla to continue with the, hopefully making it a park and public use, and then the trail, plant trail is also supposed to go through here. And as part of this, is the road alongside of it will also be transferred at the north, and then on the south going to Denzel. That's a little bit outside the map area. But that is also part of this. And so what's before the board is to approve the amendment to the original agreement with the city of Umatilla, the tribe, and the county, and a new agreement with the city of Umatilla for this transaction, which includes a road transfer. The actual road transfer will be at a later date after.
Okay. Is this one motion or two?
You can make it all, because it's all under the, to approve the grants and the, well, I think we have it two, don't
We do. It's two.
we?
Okay.
Yeah, to make it, approve the agreements.
Okay. Okay. I move to approve agreements and authorize chair to sign.
Second. And a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 I move to adopt order number BCC 2026-20.
Got a second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. To McNary.
This is also part of another transaction we had with the city of Umatilla back in 2000. And at that time, we transferred some roads to the city and also some other foreclosed property and some funding. And part of this, it wasn't really clear, but this property now is just formally coming before the board to transfer another property to the city of Umatilla for public purposes. This is a lot, I believe, a water tower on it, and I think that was what the original development was for. It's outside the actual McNary, and just sort of the leftover property that had a water tower on it. And the city thought they've been maintaining it, they thought they owned it. It's recently discovered they didn't. And so that's what this.
Comments?
I tried to find it on the map. I don't know exactly which parcel it is.
Is
it the one to the north?
It's the one that's,
Sorry, which one?
that,
The cursor is going.
it's never been part of the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think it was originally supposed to be public space, but
There used to be a water tower and a pump house there.
yeah,
Okay.
and the pump house is still there, but it's on the adjoining property.
Oh. It
That's
is.
what brought this to light. They actually opened it up and said, hey, there's a pump in here.
Okay. I move to adopt order number BCC 2026-21.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the CQIR civil jurisdiction.
The CTUR had requested from the governor to also direct a section of their civil jurisdiction that was removed in 1953. They previously have done a portion of the civil, family law, and criminal jurisdiction. They're now hoping to get the civil jurisdiction, the remaining civil jurisdiction. And what this would do is if there is a member that is part of the civil, then it could be proceeded.
Does it just have to be one member in the suit, or does the suit have to be
I think it
all
has to involve
encompassing?
just one.
Okay.
No?
No. I move to approve letter of support and authorize chair to sign.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next.
The experiment station lease. Back in 1948, the experiment station was formed. The county, through a grant, purchased the property and has leased it to OSU since 1948. In 1969, a portion of that was actually conveyed to the federal government for its portion of the research center there. The federal portion now is requesting some additional space, not to own it, but just to lease it for an equipment yard. And that is what's before the board, is to allow the state to sublease it.
I thought this was interesting. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I thought this was interesting. Just because, how did this conversation come about? Do you know?
We were approached by the Ag Center, OSU. There are additional space was needed. I believe it's been in use by them.
I kind of wondered about
I
that.
think when I worked out there many years ago, I remember that equipment yard being there. So I think it's just a matter of
Somebody caught it. I see. Okay.
No comment.
Okay. I move to approve amendment to lease and authorize chair to sign.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Aye. Motion.
Next one is a board payable. This relates to the CDA. This is to repay the remaining quarters for last year, 25-26. And that totals $201,240.72. It also includes some additional amount for the reimbursement for a portion.
Comments?
I'd like to hear your comment.
I don't have any.
You don't have any? Okay. I move to approve payable to Columbia Development Authority in the amount of $201,240.72.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Housing Authority Board appointment.
There is a vacancy on the Umatilla County Housing Authority Board.
Skipped one.
Not there?
No,
The
the fair entertainment.
One of the entertainment contracts for the fair is for Saturday night portion. It's just for one of the bands, and it's for $13,000. And so the approval of the
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay. I move approval of payment for the band for a total of $13,000. And I'll never get this right. Las Cuetas de Sinolia.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we're ready for that.
Yep.
This is because there is a vacancy due to a resignation.
I'll make this motion. I move to approve Jake Bacon to be added to the Umatilla Housing Authority Board.
Second.
I think it'll be a great addition. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. So at this time, we need to go into public hearing.
This is a separate, so you want to adjourn
Oh.
that meeting.
Now we'll adjourn the May 6th Board of Commissioners meeting, and at the same time, we're going to open up, not at the same time, a moment later, we will open up the Umatilla Water Control District meeting of May 6, 2026. Items before the control district are
2 items.
first item.
The first item is the adoption of the budget. The budget committee met and came up with a proposed budget for 26-27. It is slightly less in the current year, partially because the CDBG grant is partially done, and the work accomplished portion, part of it. And so as a result, they'll be slightly lower. Grant should be finalized here in this just proposed new fiscal year. And with that, we hopefully have a plan going forward on what needs to be done to get the levy for certification. And so the proposed budget is $168,800. The only change is in receipts from the grant. The taxes should be slightly higher, interest should be about the same, and then going forward, the materials and services, which we made up primarily for the contract with Anderson Perry, and potential other maintenance on the levy. And the remainder's in that.
Wishes?
Yes, I moved to adopt order.
This is a public hearing,
Oh,
so
public,
you might-
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor, or all those with comments in favor? All those with comments opposed, neutral? Comments? Time for you.
Well, my only comment would be, so the levy's out of compliance.
Yes.
Is that what, okay. Is there any idea when they're hoping to get it back into compliance?
Well, as soon as we have this plan, should take care of some of the deficiencies, and then there'll be some repairs.
Okay. Only question.
And on that one, that would be the next stage, and hopefully have a grant.
Okay. Thank you.
Wishes?
Can I make a motion now?
Yep.
Okay. I move to adopt order. Don't have a number. Order, I move to adopt the budget.
Second. All the motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is the new well.
Okay, this is at the request of the city of Hamilton. They are in the midst of constructing a new main line from their new well across the river. So it will involve going underneath the levee. So it's all, they need the approval of the district to allow the new main line to go underneath the levee. And so if we had a letter drafted up and it's before the board.
Wishes?
I think this is interesting. I mean, how this whole process, where will this happen at? Doug?
If we go down, the city provided,
On the southeastern corner.
let's see, it should be.
There you go. Could be in this one.
There are two proposed. So this is the treatment center here.
Okay.
And the preference ones go from here to this area here. This is the old PGG. This is the development area, Hopi Plastics down here.
Okay.
And so the main one hopefully is to go this way, which I believe doesn't really go underneath the levee over here. This one will go under the levee on both sides. But the preference is.
Okay. What a project. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I move to approve letter and authorize chair to sign.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will close out and adjourn the Umatilla County Water Control District, or Umatilla River Water Control District meeting for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Done for another year.
Done already?